Ooh, I think it was when I was 12, and that was in the household because of my sister. And I remember she used to listen to Him, the Finnish band Him, which I used to hate back then just because my sister liked it. And then I started getting into it a couple of years later, so I was a bit slow, but eventually I came around. And then I got introduced to Guns N' Roses, Nightwish, Iron Maiden, Iced Earth, these bands. That's the first ones I can remember. So that's how it started. I got exposed to metal because of my sister. Oh, it was different. It was certainly different. It was unlike anything I ever heard. And it was really strong. The electric guitars were such a new thing to hear in my ears. I was really shocked in a positive way. And I got thirsty. I just wanted more. I got addicted, really. Well, once again, I was a bit slow because I was a musician for a few years. I started out with the piano. I was playing that for 3 or 4 years, but then because I had to read it and study it, I started disliking it. And that led me to the electric guitar. That's what I picked up next. And it was only when I was 15 years old when I started actually singing, because somebody told me that, hey, you could really sing well. I'm like, are you sure? And he convinced me, a really good friend of mine from my childhood. So that's how I started singing, basically. And I just continued to develop it until I started to like my singing myself too. So until that, it was just struggle and struggle and struggle. But I wanted to do it, and I started liking it more and more. Oh yeah, and I think because I started out as a teenager and you're supposed to still have a voice transitioning situation going on, it was kind of risky to really push it, and I was already starting to join bands, you know, in the Greek scene and everything. So it was tough, and that was one of the reasons that I wanted to join a music university. It was just because I wanted to develop a healthy technique. I didn't have anything awesome in mind, but I just wanted to sing the stuff that I want to sing, but with a healthy way. And I think it worked. Like, I achieved that goal. I got into the University of Thessaloniki, University of Macedonia it's called. And yeah, the musical university. And I started doing classical singing for a few years there, and it really helped a lot. I think the three off the top of my head that I could come up with are Bruce Dickinson, Matt Barlow from Iced Earth, and probably Roy Khan from Camelot would compete there. If I had to squeeze another two, maybe Russell Allen from Symphony X, and Jorn Lande from Master Plan, etc. These guys are just really unbeatable and unique. You know, one of a kind, really. I was in a way lucky that I started doing discography on a quite early stage. I was 18 when I did my first EP, or 19, I think, something like that. And then we did the first album with War Drum in 2012. So already that kind of forced me to develop more of my own character. Like, I was doing covers in the meantime, and always the goal was to achieve the same emotion, same sentiment, same atmosphere as the song, but not copy the vocalist and give my own spin to it. And I think till this day I try to be faithful to that cause. And but I really recommend to any singer that wants to push forward to just rely on discography. That's where you really develop your craft, and you develop both the technique and your vocal character as well. The very first tours we had, I was again pretty young back then. I was like 20, 21 years old. We did a small tour with Until Rain, a progressive metal band from Greece. I was in that band for a few years, like 5-6 years, and I remember that it was kind of easy because I was not really moving on stage, and those songs, they were pretty demanding vocally, but there were big breaks. You know, we're talking about most songs were beyond the 6-minute limit, so they were pretty long songs, so it was kind of easy. But when things started to get a bit more rough were when we started actually touring with Beast in Black, and so we're talking about fast forward to 2017, and those gigs were already starting to get more demanding. I remember, you know, I had a very different technique back then, 2017, and we had a support tour to do, and I was already struggling with that. Like, we're talking about 40-minute set, and it was really tough. So I had to change a lot of things and adjust. And yeah, I think now I'm only starting to learn. Like, this is just the start for me, you know. Well, the only lessons I took were in the musical university that I attended in Thessaloniki, and that was for a couple of years. Then I really started not going there anymore. So we're talking about, what was it, 12 classes, 12 lessons in every year. So it's like, we can say a total of 30 lessons in my life, basically, and they were classically oriented. And I was very lucky and blessed that my teacher didn't really want to mess with what I try to do, because she knew that I'm heading towards a heavy metal career. So she didn't want to change the timbre of my voice and make me really sound classical, but she tried to compromise both sides and give me what she could give, given the situation. So I was really lucky, because most classical teachers will not accept it if you don't have the certain formula, you don't have the certain style and timbre to your voice. So yeah, I owe a lot to her, for sure. It was quite gradual. Like, I think it was just like at least to the mainstream, you know, run-of-the-mill parent, it would be a series of disappointments, because I started out wanting to be a doctor when I was in elementary school, and then when I joined high school I started shifting towards music, and then it was one step that you had to choose between the theoretical and the mathematical direction in the senior high school, and I chose the theoretical. So that was like kind of a final blow to joining the medicine school, because you cannot do that anymore if you do that decision. And then I joined the musical university. So it was kind of a gradual thing, you know. They started seeing where I'm heading at. They saw me joining more bands. They were joining the concerts that we were doing with the bands as much as they could. They were very supportive. I couldn't ask for more. I think I haven't even met any other parents that are more supportive in the world. I've met a lot of people. I'm kind of exaggerating it, but I couldn't have asked for better. So they eventually started seeing that, hey, this kid knows what he's doing, like, let him do what he wants. And they stood there for every step of the way, never doubted me, and they never discouraged me. So I'm really blessed and lucky in that sense. I do have a bad habit of kind of copying it. Like, I kind of go this way many times. Somehow it makes me feel more intimate to the microphone, even though sound engineers freaking hate it. Of course, this is the worst way to do it. And then you start sounding like a Cookie Monster or something. But yeah, I guess the ideal way would be to be here. And when I realize that I overdo it, then I'm like, oh, and then I go there again. So I don't know. But nowadays I change hands a lot. So I never hold it just with the dominant one, but I switch hands, and I don't know, I spin it around in the air. I'm just having fun with it. You know, I don't know if I'm thinking about it anymore. I just try not to be too close when I scream my guts off, but that's all. I wish I was that latter kind of guy, but I'm always annoying everyone around me with the warm-ups. Like, even right now, like, just talking feels kind of wrong, because, well, I've slept like 3 hours, and, yeah, not much food or hydration, but I always do lip trills. I do the NG sound, like, for example, and then after I do a couple of those boring drills, I start singing very easy songs that don't give any challenges whatsoever, so the body can get ready to the actual singing mechanism. Because I think that the vocal warm-ups and drills are very different than having an actual rhythm that you have to follow in a song, In a song, it dictates the rhythm for you, whereas in the exercise, you already know what's happening. So, two very different things, and I try to do both before I go on stage. It used to be nothing, when I was still in my 20s, but I'm not anymore. And you have to be careful with the late night eating, and that's something I just discovered a couple of weeks ago. I started developing a little bit of inflammation around the larynx, and the first thing that my doctor asked was, "Are you sleeping on your right side in the bed?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, I can see it because your stomach is giving you reflux because you're eating so late just before you go to bed." I'm like, "Yeah, guilty as charged." So thankfully there's no real damage at the vocal cords, but he was more worried about the eating. I'm like, okay, if you tell me that fixing it will fix, the voice and make it work better, I'm up for it. If you told me to stop eating late for any other reason, I would be like, oh, who cares? But if it comes to compromising my vocal performance and health, I cannot allow that. So that's the first thing I need to avoid, for sure. They say that coffee is bad, but for me, coffee makes me want to drink more water. So in the end, I hydrate myself more than I dehydrated. And I don't know, dairy products, I try to have them only in the morning. If I have them later on, it might not be a great idea either. Heavily cooked or oiled meat, that's what I can come up with. I still eat a lot of meat, but I try to do it also earlier on and in small quantities. So no pain, no gain, for sure, because there is, when it comes to the vocal part at least, there is no way you can discover the huge spectrum that the vocal genre can give you as a singer. There is no way to discover all of that without experiencing ever any pain. Like, there is guttural vocals, there is death metal vocals, there is screaming, there is tone screaming, anything you name it. These techniques are not conventional. So you have to find your own way and twist to make those happen and adjust them to your body. And no matter how many teachers you find that show you the way, it's like a guiding light, but you still have to walk the way, even with the guiding lights. So there is no way to do that without any effort and pain. And I mean, even physical pain. Like, you will try, and okay, now I'm getting the sound, but I still have to avoid the pain. And then you get the same sound, but you're bypassing the spot that hits you with pain. And same goes with the career side of things. Like, it's not an easy music. It's not the music that the majority listens to. If you want to go with the majority, I don't know, go with country music if you're American, or, go with pop music, again, if you're American or something, or go with rap music, trap music, something like that. So, you have to persevere and overcome challenges, because you will be brought down and you will get a lot of failures and disappointments. But it doesn't end there. If you just keep pushing through and prove to everyone that you're worth getting the spotlight and moving forward, eventually you'll reach it. And those are words that I have to listen to as well. It's not like I've made it anywhere, nowhere near where I dream of, at least. So I think those are the keys. You cannot just give up because of 1 or 2 or 10 difficulties. It just depends how bad you want it. You can overcome million difficulties if you want it that bad. So, I don't know if it's words of wisdom, but that's what I think I know.